Hi, my name is Tina Jones. I'm one of the board members of the African American Heritage Society of Williamson County, and we are here today with two descendants of Harvey McLemore, who built the McLemore House in Franklin, which serves now as the McLemore House Museum that we own and operate. And we're so glad to have you both here with us today. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about Harvey and your families, and in honor of Juneteenth, we are going to talk a little bit about the legacy that he has left. Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom and remembering the day in 1865, June 19th, when the slaves in Texas learned that they were free. This was more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had gone into effect. Mm-hmm. So Harvey McLemore was in his 30s when the Civil War came to an end. So he was an adult. He had a daughter, Mary, who you were telling me you remember her being referred to as Grandma May, Mama May?
Just Mama May.
Mama May.
Uh-huh.
So you are both Harvey's great-great-great-granddaughters. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Jenny, you were still alive when Mary died. Is that right? Is that what we were saying?
I don't remember.
Okay, I think that's right.
Okay.
So, so can you tell us a little bit about what you might remember about her, what people used to say about her?
Mm-hmm. Yes, she was a character. All I can remember by being one of the oldest descendants that's still living, she used to slip us candy. And of course, your parents or your grandparents or whoever were, and our grandparents kept us while our parents worked. Mm-hmm. And her name was Genevieve. We called her Mama Lake. Mm-hmm. But Mama May she would slip us candy and stuff and then want them to know it because they didn't want us to have it. Mm-hmm. And that's about all I remember about it. But I remember that because we waited on that candy.
So we have a rocking chair at the McLemore House. Was that her chair? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any memories of Mama May or any stories that you've been told about her?
Well, the rocking chair I remember was in the house when I moved in. Mm-hmm. And during that time, when they were getting the house together, we just dedicated it to the house. So it was in our family.
Yeah,
it belonged
really
to
special.
Someone. I'm not really sure who.
Well, we have a picture, there's a picture of Mary sitting in that chair.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And so do you have any recollections of any of your ancestors or relatives talking about the Civil War or slavery because Harvey was an adult during the Civil War?
I don't.
Do you have any, Laverne?
No.
Okay, Jenny, so your grandmother, both of you have the same grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mama Lake.
so her first husband passed away and she married again. Mm-hmm. And so you have the same grandmother but different grandfathers. Mm-hmm. So your grandfather, Jenny, was Harvey Lee Hughes. Mm-hmm. And so he worked as a porter on the railroad, and we think maybe he was a Pullman porter. And I was just going to show you, so when your mom, Ora May Hughes Manier, how do you pronounce it? Manier, thank you. When she was born, they published a little birth announcement in the newspaper. So we were just looking at that. It says, Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Hughes are happy over the arrival of their new baby girl. So that just tells you that they were worth reporting about in the newspaper. They were sort of high society. The newspaper in Nashville was talking about Ora May's birth. And she was the only girl that they had, right? She had all boys. So I bet she
Seven, I believe 6 or 7.
Wow. So
if I'm not mistaken.
Rotten.
She never went around with them. The boys were just boys. And she stuck in the kitchen with my maid and as Mary, as you call her, and Genevieve. Mm-hmm. She was about that wood stove and trying to cook and all that.
In the McLemore house or at the house on Glass Street where they lived?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I know, she was at the grandmama's house, and I guess that's the McLemore house.
Yeah.
I know she was there.
Yeah.
And she was around them trying to learn how to cook in the stove, in the kitchen, and all this stuff. I remember that part.
Well, I'm sure that she was back and forth You know how kids go down the street between
We were back
grandma-
and forth, and we stayed in the same house for a
When you
long
were
time.
little?
Little, yes. Grew up in the same
Wow.
house.
So like I said, after Jenny's first husband, Harvey, passed away, she married Albert Murray in 1916. So that's your grandfather,
Yes.
Laverne. And so he was a porter at a grocery store here in Franklin.
Okay.
And so that means, you know, he would have carried groceries home to people's houses and helped in the grocery store. And they had, I believe, just one son, and that's your dad, William, right?
Yes.
And they got married in 1916, and the very next year, World War I started. And Albert went to France, and he served in the 20th Engineering Corps. So have you ever heard any stories about his time serving in France?
No, I haven't. Engineer, you say he worked in engineer? That's interesting.
Yeah, that means that
No.
they built roads
Roads and-
and things like that during World War I.
Okay. Well, no.
So he is buried at Toussaint Louverture Cemetery right near the Macklemore House in Hardbargen, and he has a military headstone.
Headstone, yes, I do know
So
that.
that must have been important to him, you know, being a veteran and his military service.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's really neat
I know
thing to
Dad.
celebrate.
My father's a veteran, and he was very patriotic. He was very patriotic.
Yeah, so he
believed
probably
in it.
carried that down from his father.
Yes, I'm
right?
sure he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a great segue into Juneteenth, which, like I said at the beginning, is a holiday celebrating freedom and emancipation for African Americans. So what do you think how does knowing Harvey Macklemore's story affect the way that you might celebrate Juneteenth or think about Juneteenth?
Well, we always just about come over here unless we have something at the church, in my church. But we always come over and be on
At
the
the
porch
Macklemore
and
house?
listen to the band and the music and everything they have. So that's about all I've ever done.
Yeah. Do you think it makes it more special to you that you can trace your ties all the way back to Harvey and all the way back to slavery and the Civil War, knowing that your family really persevered and had that strength to survive that awful time, and now here you are.
Oh yes, definitely.
You know.
Yes, just to be able to know that he did persevere. You know, he pursued, and he persevered, and the preservation is there now, that where we can all see it. So yeah.
So what do you want people to know about Harvey Macklemore's story and the Macklemore house and your family's history? Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want people to know about that?
No, we want them to know everything.
The whole
We're not
story.
selfish, are we?
No, we want them to know everything. It may inspire them and encourage them, you know, to do the research on their families as well. Because I'm sure it's more, well, I know that they're more than us in Williamson County, that we have a rich culture and rich history. You know, it's just a matter of seeking it out.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. I would just like to say, on behalf of the African American Heritage Society, we appreciate your being here today, and we really appreciate your sharing the Macklemore House with us and with the community. I know it's probably not easy to sort of to open it up to the public, but it is so important for people to hear that story, and we truly appreciate it.
She moved in the house.
Yeah,
before
you did.
Before it was turned over.
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I lived in it, I think from 1988 till about 1995, and it became in disrepair. But then, you know, I was always worried about it. I wanted it to always stay in the family, you know, so I began to seek out things where we could get it preserved. And here we are.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll both be happy to know that we are about to it's been 20 years. And as you know, having lived in an old house, that old houses need constant care and attention, just like children. And so we are about to undertake another round of renovations and restorations to the house.
Oh, okay.
We're going to, we'll be talking about that in some other videos, but we hope that the community will help us raise some money that we're looking forward to being able to make some exciting improvements to the Macklemore House. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, we're excited to share Harvey's story and your family story.
Because we still here to celebrate. And we know our parents would be too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would really be excited.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us today. We're looking forward to kicking off the week of celebrating Juneteenth virtually this year at the Macklemore House, and we will be announcing ways that you can help support the African American Heritage Society as we work on restoring and improving the Macklemore House and our programming there. So please check us out at www.macklemorehouse.com.